Hi, I'm Terri Savelle. Thank you for joining with me. I want to talk to you today about the key to long-term success every time. I would say in 3 words, it's to be glued. I'll explain. Do you know that phrase to be glued to something, to be fixated on something? It actually means to stick to, fasten, or cause to adhere. It means to cause to be focused on or directed at something and to be firmly attached. Well, I've discovered if you want to go to the next level in your life, no matter what area it is, you must learn to be glued. In other words, you must have stickability. Anyone who has achieved great success has learned to stick with things. In other words, they stick with things when they don't see progress, and they stick with things when they exceed their expectations. They just learn to stick with it. I was thinking about, or you may have heard me share that story about the Aboriginal tribe in Australia. They did this little rain dance. And so when farmers were experiencing a great drought, they would hire these Aborigines to come in, do the little rain dance, and they would get results. Well, there was this one tribe who every time they danced, it rained. Well, because they got results, they could charge more money for their services. So these farmers who were having a severe drought, they pulled their money together and they said, let's hire the best. So they got the Aboriginal tribe to come in, do the little rain dance. They danced. Sure enough, it rained. Well, finally, one of the farmers pulled them aside and said, okay, what's your secret? What is it about you that every time you dance, it rains? The guy said, I don't know. He said, we just dance until it rains. We dance until it rains. In other words, they have stickability. They're glued until they get the results they want. Well, I was thinking about even in my own life, with this little podcast that you're watching, we started this in 2008, this little 8-minute podcast on YouTube. The entire first year, we had 8,000 views. 8,000 views, and I did one a week. That's 52 podcasts for 8,000 views. That averages about 22 people a day watching. Well, I could have given up and been like, 22 people, what's the point? We did it again the next year, 2009, 2010, 2011, and 12, and just kept going. That's hours and hours of content and podcasting, and you got 226 people watching. But little by little, it began to grow. 2012 and 13 and 14. All of a sudden, it just took off to where I remember hearing results like it took us 6 years to get 1 million views. Now we have 1 million views every 6 weeks. Or I remember hearing, that whole first year in 2008, we had 8,000 views. Now we have 8,000 views every few hours. Well, I think about today when I go to Holland or Germany or France or Minnesota, no matter where I go, people come up and say, I found you on YouTube. Or last year alone, we shipped resources, books and audios to 84 countries. Well, I'm thinking, how in the world does anybody in Bangladesh know who I am? It's this little podcast on YouTube. Well, what if I had quit in 2011 because I'm thinking 173 people are watching? Just forget it. It's not worth the effort. But no, I had to learn to be glued until it succeeds. Well, what is it in your life that you need to get glued to? What is it that you've started and stopped and started and stopped again? It may be a podcast. In fact, I heard someone tell me the other day, they said, I'm going to do a podcast. They said, I've done it before. I did it for about 3 months. I stopped for 7 months, but I'm going to pick it up again. I'm thinking, that's not being glued. That's just a sticky mess. But if you want to see results, you got to stick with it. In fact, Tony Robbins said, it's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. Well, consistent action brings consistent results, right? Well, I remember thinking, even with the Icing Women's Conference, every year I host a women's conference in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for women, and it's absolutely free, and women come from all over to this event. Well, we started this in 2010 in Crowley, Texas, with 325 women. Well, I remember in the beginning, I said, I'm going to do it quarterly so we can build momentum and start to establish a reputation of consistency. And, people start trusting that you're going to be there once a quarter. We did that in 2010 and 11 and 12. Then we went to 2 a year. Now it's an annual event and it has thousands of women. But you know what? I remember one year we had overflow crowds, standing room only. But then the next year we had less women. Well, I could have said, this is ridiculous. I'm not putting myself through this pressure, this responsibility. Let's just take a break for a year or two. But no, if you want to be successful, you have to stick with it. Get stickability. In fact, listen to this. I was reading something about Charles Schulz. He was the creator of the Peanuts comic strip. He said, of course, he's one of the greatest of all time, but he said every cartoon he submitted was rejected. Every cartoon for years. He said, I was even rejected from my high school yearbook staff. He said he was shy, timid, withdrawn. Even after high school, he tried to get a job working with Walt Disney, and they rejected him. But you know what? He had stickability. He would not give up even though he experienced rejections. Well, today he's, known as one of the greatest, most influential cartoonists of all time. In fact, I read where he was in 2,600 newspapers in 75 countries, translated in 21 languages. He had stickability, didn't he? Well, I want you to think about in your own life, what do you need to get glued to? Maybe you thought, I'm going to start a blog, and you did the blog for 6 weeks, and you had 17 people reading the blog, and you think, well, I'm not going to do it anymore. Nobody's even reading it. No, people trust predictability. They like when they see something consistently. So if you, had a dream to write your blog, keep writing it. Even if 12 people are reading it, keep doing it. Or maybe you said, I'm going to host a Facebook Live once a week, and 3 people are watching, and it's your mom, dad, and sister. Keep doing it, because I'm telling you, months from now, people are going to see you doing that Facebook Live, and boy, man, she really stuck with it. Man, he's still writing that blog. I'm amazed. Stick with it, whatever it is. And today, we have that microwave mentality where we want everything fast. Everything is, shake and bake, soup in a cup, instant rice. Even my peanut butter is called Jif to go. We want everything super fast. But if you want to get results, you have to stay dedicated for an extended period of time to build momentum and get the results you want. In fact, if it's weight loss, if it's making sales calls, whatever it is, just make up your mind, I'm going to stick with it until I get results. In fact, I heard Creflo Dollar say this. He said, it's not that you're not doing the right thing, you're just not doing it long enough to get results. So I want to challenge you today, whatever that means for you and your situation, your dreams, your goals, just make a decision you're going to stick with it. Consistent action brings consistent results. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a friend that needs to hear this just to keep them encouraged, share this podcast with them. Be sure to subscribe to it. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, so I can keep you motivated to achieve your dreams. Thanks for watching.